Councilmember Cardoza, what'd you do the last 2 weeks?
Oh, I've had a lot of fun. There's always excitement in our community. We're going to start off with meetings this session, council meeting. I attended the Homeless Consortium meeting. Johnny was there. We had his second meeting, correct? Yeah, we had got some activity going. He more or less the presentation that he gave us tonight is what we discussed, or what I was able to listen to at that meeting. Councilman Shaw and myself, we attended the Yuba City Transit Authority meeting. I attended the Homeless Ad Hoc Committee meeting with our Sutter County supervisors and also Grace. We're moving along. It's a slow process, but we are moving forward. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll get some more information and deal with that in our community. Attended the Planning Commission meeting last Wednesday night. We have great things in our community. The Planning Commission approved 2 subdivisions that will be coming to council here in the near future. And also we're gonna have chances of having the apartment complex on the corner of Louise and Stafford Way coming in our near future. This morning I attended the Yuba Center Pulse Zoom meeting. That's by the Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Committee. Diana gave a presentation on what our city's doing here for tonight. And then on community and city events, Friday night I was out with our Yuba City Police Department at our sobriety checkpoint. Being that we have the new bridge done now, there's quite a bit of traffic on Bridge Street. There was a lot of traffic considered from before, but it was a very successful evening. Of course, I always attend the certified farmers markets on Saturday mornings at the town center and on Wednesday nights when I have a chance at our Sutter Community Museum. The vendors are wonderful. We get fresh produce, and that's from our local farms and in our area. Last Saturday, I attended the March of the Wool Mannequins at the Tea Garden House. That was hosted by the Yuba City Yuba City Arts and Culture. I put a bid in, and I got the winning bid for a unique Van Gogh Starry High mannequin art piece. So I got a collection in my house that I threw it in, didn't think I was going to get it. I got it, so I have some artwork in my house, and that was a wonderful turnout. And that was also for the 100-year anniversary of women being able to vote. That was also part of that day. And that's it for me. Thank you. Yeah, a wool mannequin. It's just a half. That's just a half thing, painted.
And as far as the 2 subdivisions,
Yes.
was there any comment on the reason they're coming had anything to do with reduction of impact fees?
There was no. I'll let Ben answer that.
I'm just curious.
Yes.
I'm really hoping to hear that's true.
You know, absolutely. That was actually highlighted for
Good.
both subdivisions. The reduction in impact fees and the change in the undergrounding policy said that from the engineer was really what was it hit the threshold to make it feasible.
Perfect. Good to hear that. I'm glad I asked.
And also, we have utilities in the area, so it's right there where they can hook up.
Perfect.
Also.
Thank you. Grace.
I have to follow up Manny or Councilman Cardoza over here, man. That's a hard one to follow up on, huh? Whoa, mannequin. Oh, whoa, mannequin. There you go, whoa, mannequin. Well, I was at that same whoa, mannequin, and I bid for a lady as well, and she's in my closet. Mine's on the wall. Okay. No. It was a great event by the Yuba City Arts Council, so it was fantastic. Last month was a theme, it seemed to me, mostly about women because it was the suffrage and the 19th Amendment, women's right to vote. So I was involved in a lot of women's issues last month. Imagine that. So with the League of Cities, I'm part of the Women's Caucus, and there was a workshop on specifically on women equality and celebrating that and how women leaders are investing into the community. So that was a really interesting one. Well, it was an afternoon training. There were women from all over Northern California, of councilwomen and mayors. So I really enjoyed that. Also participated in the previous, with the Yuba Center Arts, there was a Women in Conversations leadership. So there were several women. There was a CEO of an ag business. There was a medical doctor. The president of Yuba College, a councilwoman, McKinsey, a superintendent of schools. So we had a women's and leadership conversation, which went really well, and it was produced through the Yuba Center Arts Council as well. From that, we have continued now to meet, and we're calling it a Women Leaders Network. And part of that is understanding, the differences of executive leaders and elected leaders and women, and the role of how our jobs impact maybe women differently. And the topic that we had was on the balance of having a family and teaching your kids at home right now. Yeah, that's a big topic, big issue. So we're going to plan on meeting every month, which is exciting because that's going to be something that will help us learn as women leaders in this community. The other thing that was I'm always been part of is the homeless ad hoc committee that we met with Manny and Sutter County. We reviewed briefly a plan that we've been talking about. I think we should have hopefully some really stronger details here in the next meeting. Was there a follow-up meeting date on that, Diana? There's no follow-up meeting date on that. We met 3 weeks prior to that meeting because we want to deal with some of these homeless issues and find tent opportunities, clean up areas, move things around, and we're just waiting for that plan to work through Sutter County. And the last thing that was extremely fun, and I have to thank Brad and Kelsey for organizing last minute. There was an idea that I meet weekly in another group, the Latino Outreach, with helping with COVID-19 with Dr. Liu and a team of bi-county community. Actually, it's tri-county. It's Colusa, Yuba, Sutter, and Butte County. We meet once a week normally. And the question came up is how do we engage young people understanding their role in this COVID-19 and helping open up our schools? So it's one of those two things. And so talked to Brad and talked to Diana, talked with Brad and Kelsey and our youth commissioners We met with Dr. Liu and her team, and they are invited in a process of developing a public outreach campaign. So our youth commissioners were really excited about that. And hopefully you'll be seeing some of them on some Snapchat or TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or something to that effect. We're supposed to regroup in 30 days to see what that outcome may look like. So our young people are also engaged in helping beat COVID-19. So they're making a strong commitment to this, and I'm excited about that. It happens to be our youth commissioners who are part of that solution. Any questions, gentlemen? Comments, feedback? Thank you. Thank you.
Shaw.
Mr. Mayor, since our last council meeting, I've had the transit meeting for one. Couple of quick things from that. Number one, ridership, of course, is still down as fully expected. They have reinstated fares and stuff on that because there was a period of time that they were not charging the fares, trying to provide a service and whatnot. But the bigger item agenda that is looming out there with transit is, I believe, Mr. Cardoza, that Keith told us in the next couple of months we will start getting some feasibility
reports back, I believe, for site selections, because Yuba Center Transit is going to have to build a new site somewhere in the next several years to be able to facilitate the fleet of electric buses that they're going to need. Plus, there's this little project with the highway that's going to come down and take probably a lot of their parking lot and facility right there in front of Marysville High School. So we're waiting to see where that falls. We're waiting to see if there's sites inside of the city limits of Yuba City. At this point, we don't have that information, but I'm hopeful that that we're in that mix. Besides that, I've been working on ad hoc committees, still moving things forward with what we're doing as a council to conduct the business of the city. So with that, I do want to add one more thing, and that is I just want to thank our public for being here tonight. It's nice having you guys back in the chambers, and I appreciate your feedback, appreciate you being patient with us over the past several months. This thing turned out not to be a sprint, but a marathon, and we're all in it together, but I'm glad you guys are here tonight, and thanks for your feedback. And with that, the only other thing that happened is I got 1 year older, as we all know, last council meeting. So I appreciate my fellow council members and the staff. Ms. Sanchez, thank you for the treats at the last council meeting and wishing me a happy birthday and bringing in the cupcakes and stuff. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, Vice Mayor.
My turn. I too am pleased to see the public here with us again. It's always nice to see the staff in these chambers, but it's doubly nice when we have the public and we get to hear from them. We are here to serve. We are here to represent. So I'm hopeful that as the days go by, in the weeks or whatever, that we can get more public in the chambers here with us. I want to thank Mr. Burke for coming by today. And nice to meet you. And like I said earlier, put a name with a face. The meetings that I attended, the mayor asked that I, as his alternate, attend SACOG, which is Sacramento Area Council of Governments. It was the longest, most spirited political meeting that I've had the misfortune of listening to. Actually, the big issue was funding. And you can imagine, if you have representatives from the counties and the cities, from Placer and Sacramento and Yolo and Sutter and Yuba, there are a lot of different interests. And SACOG does have a pot of money that they facilitate moving around to different agencies. So the issue was how do those funds get dispersed? And of course, everybody had their own idea about how that should be. And at the end of a 3.5-hour meeting, they didn't pass a damn thing. So they have to come back and do it again. And no, you get it this time, sir.
You beat me to it.
One thing that did occur, and this was a topic that I believe you and I were on ad hoc committee for, which was the flavored tobacco. And so that a state law was passed effective January 1, where there's restrictions on the sale of flavored tobacco. So we'll have to revisit and see where we need to go, if we need to go in any of that. So, but that was something that happened over the last few days. With Councilman Shaw, he mentioned it, the city manager ad hoc committee, we're moving ahead with that. We've got some meetings scheduled, and that process moves forward as we move ahead. LAFCO, the city has representation on LAFCO, and I am the designated person, and Councilwoman Espandola is the alternate. I'm going to have to ask her to attend this next meeting. I've got another conflict, but it's my understanding that the municipal services review is coming up, and I see Mr. Moody hopping to the mic again, which is good.
Yeah, so I would just, I'd like to follow up and clarify with LAFCO. My understanding is we actually have 2 reps. So Councilmember Espandola actually serves as the city alternate, as the second person. So if my understanding is going to be a workshop, so there's not going to be necessarily an action item. But if there is an action needed, we would look for an alternate for you in addition to LAFCO.
Okay. There's a slight possibility I might attend. I have a meeting that I can't get out of, but.
I'll follow up. My understanding right now, it's a workshop.
And the final thing I want is, I think there may be a little issue, but we got the Hometown Hero banners up this past week. And if you haven't seen those, what a nice job. I think George Barlow was the coordinator of that. They had to come down for a bit, but they're going back up, I think. So anyway, what a great tribute to those who've served our country. And it's just one of those projects you look at and you go, yeah, it's a good deal. But with that, I turn it over to you, sir.
Yeah, poor George. I can only imagine because he put a lot of work into that. I think we're coming up with the end of this month or the latter half of this month as they're going back up.
Yeah, he's still working with the vendor, but that's his goal.
Okay, very good. Just real quick, I too appreciate the public coming in. I know we have limited seating, but it's always good to see familiar faces and the input, which is great, a step in the right direction. Speaking of virtual meetings, I did attend a virtual back to school night. So I'm going to shout out to our school teachers out there and the hard work they're doing, trying to adapt to all this. It's incredible. I couldn't do that job even in person. And then I see my young one here trying to attend school, and I catch him on the tablet or whatever playing games, and then she has 20 of them trying to corral all that and still trying to be effective teacher, and it's rough. And so I appreciate all the work our school teachers do. That's for sure. Back to Yuba Center Arts. When attended a board meeting, they had a lot of projects. I have to give my hats off to them, Dave and Abby over there. I do it a lot, but they deserve it a lot. They do a great job, especially adapting to COVID and the restrictions and the ideas they come up with are outstanding. And so hats off to them. I was out of town for a few days, so I didn't go to the wool mannequin event at Tea Garden, but I understand it was a big success. They actually sold, well, I have down here that they sold them, but apparently both of you bought one. All right, well, that's good. Part of SACOG, Mark, thank you again, Vice Mayor, for attending on my behalf. I did not plan my few days out of town around that, but it looks like I'm going to get to enjoy the benefit of the debate again. But it's a very important thing. It's a 2-year funding round and how we disperse the money, millions of dollars. One of the reasons why it's such a, I don't know if I say contentious issue, is because our area is so diverse. You have a diverse area, you're going to have diverse objectives and diverse priorities, and then you try to come together in one. When you're talking millions of dollars, it becomes pretty interesting. I did attend today the Commercial Corridor Task Force. I'm on a working group. That's a sub-working group of SACOG. And I brought this up before, but I just really appreciate this graphic that they prepared, SACOG staff prepared, entitled The Barriers to Infill and Corridor Revitalization. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but they have 5 different categories here that they've identified that I think would help steer our conversations and our efforts here locally when you can have these line items you can address, perhaps case by case, but infrastructure would be, like we've talked about before, water and sewer upgrade needs, sidewalks, bike lanes, safety issues, ADA retrofits. Those challenges can be a barrier that we can overcome for a corridor revitalization. Regulatory processes, we've already talked about CEQA before. We've talked about how we've already reduced our impact fees by roughly 50% citywide. A list goes on in there. Costs and funding. Societal issues that might be barriers. The most obvious example of that is the NIMBY syndrome. You might want to have a development come in, but you got the NIMBY problem. And then you move it and you got another NIMBY problem. And so that's something we can address or at least talk about. And of course, the market. In that we get into rent control, high density, mixed use issues, housing costs, absentee landlords, and we're right into our nuisance ordinances too. So it's a very interesting, it's all online at SACOG website, but I tell you, it helps me a lot. I've referred to it a lot when we decide to prioritize our actions and what we're going to be doing to get some development in our city and moving forward. And that is pretty much it, in addition to, of course, the lovely campaign season we're all a part of right now for another 2 more months. So, again, thank you all for coming. Thank you all the staff for being here. Johnny, you stuck through the entire meeting. I'm impressed. Okay, you guys all be safe out there, and we stand adjourned. Thank you. One thing I noticed here, I just looked on this thing. This thing was donated to the city by Mayor Tom Pfeffer on September 8th, 1981. So 39 years this thing's been sitting up here being used. So that's pretty interesting. A week from now, anyway. Thank you. Have a good night.